Great to see the conversation happening. I might make a start because I'm very conscious of the time. After asking everybody to come back at time, I got distracted eating and talking as well myself, so I apologise. But that is part of the benefit of these days. So welcome back to the second session. I'd like to welcome Jane McInnes, who's going to present to us on this next session, Containment Feeding to Boost Business Performance and Resilience. Jane's from the North East Node and the Riverine Plains. So welcome, Jane. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll just get myself and my scooter set up. Yep. So good morning, everyone. My name's Jane McInnes. I'm a Senior Project Manager at Riverine Plains. So as it's been spoken about this morning, Riverine Plains leads the Northeast Hub node. It's a little bit different to the Riverine Plains membership area, but we still have quite a big influence. So this project I'm going to talk about today, we ran as part of the node region, which was a little bit outside our membership area, which had its benefits of doing that. For those that haven't already asked, I'm on my little scooter here because I snapped my Achilles 5 weeks ago playing netball. So I'm on the long road to recovery. So I'll just perch here on my scooter for the next 10 minutes. But obviously you don't need to hear about that. So I'm here today to talk about the Containment Feeding to Boost Business Performance and Resilience project. So I guess some people say, why containment feeding? You know, it's been around forever. Isn't everyone already doing that? We've been through droughts. What's new about containment feeding? So through extensive pilot projects and engaging with farmers, the significance of stock containment has become increasingly apparent. When tackling issues such as drought resilience and optimising pasture utilisation, we know that containment feeding emerges as a pertinent solution. So essentially, stock containment is creating areas for stock to remove them from the main paddock rotation, allowing pastures, crops to regenerate and grow to their full potential. And in doing this, usually means feeding them in a small area. So it's commonly referred to, and the words can get strewed depending on where you are. It can be, and every farmer calls it something different, but in the end, they're all mean the same thing. So it could be a sacrifice paddock, it could be containment feeding, could be confinement feeding, and it really just depends who you talk to in what area and what they've done previously. So a few of the questions that were identified was, how do we do it effectively? When do we do it? When do we make that call to use stock containment? And how do we begin the process? If we don't have anything set up, how do we actually start the conversation, and where do we go to get the information? So these were the questions that were identified. And through this process, it was also identified that it's not a unique problem. In all the nodes and within regions in those nodes, it was an issue, and not just in our state, but across other states as well. So what's the solution? A solution started with a conversation from a large cross-hub Future Drought Fund extension and adoption proposal. This was unsuccessful, but in that there was lots of discussion, ongoing discussion with South Australia as they secured some funding through the Sheep Industry Fund and the South Australian Drought Hub. So these conversations continued, and it was agreed that the need for the program really persisted, and with ongoing discussions that the Hubs and Farming Systems Group would continue to work together to develop resources, build the capacity of advisors, and roll out a pilot program with small groups of producers who will work with trained network of advisors and upskill these producers and support them to implement containment feeding system, which is best suited to them as a farm on their farm. So not what's suited to the region or a blanket approach, but what is suited to them on their farm. So a little bit about the project. So as I said, it was aimed at building capacity of advisors. Building capacity advisors in farming systems groups. So Riverine Plains, together with BCG and SFS, all the advisors were involved in the project rollout, attended a training in Adelaide, and also follow-up training sessions online throughout the last 6 months. The resources that were developed, obviously we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. We didn't want to reinvent resources that were already out there. So there were resources developed that were guides on containment setup, nutritional guidelines, regulatory insights, as that is a main thing, and of course it differs between state to state, and also animal health considerations. Additionally, a network of advisors was established. So that was fostering ongoing collaboration and support throughout the project. The workshops were designed to be small group, as I said, to enhance that learning and gain more interaction and tailor the delivery to each group. Across BCG, SFS and Riv Plains, we would have reached at least 40 producers and had real impact. At Riverine Plains, we hosted 2 workshops and we adapted the content and delivered 1 workshop on beef in Corryong, up in the hills, and 1 on sheep in Dookie. The interaction at both workshops was really encouraging, with everyone at different stages in their journey. Through these workshops, they were designed to upskill the participants and make them feel comfortable and competent at whatever stage of their journey they were at. Then they received a follow-up, one-on-one meeting to help them and discuss a particular topic around containment, whether it was checking on a pen design, discussing on where to put the stock containment area, a nutritional follow-up, or really just to discuss what they have already. This really held the farmers accountable and showed that we were serious about supporting them and not just delivering the information and forgetting about it. So how does this differ from a normal extension project? How does it differ from a workshop that we run and then do our reporting and let it go? What sets this initiative apart from conventional extension project is the emphasis on collaboration and ongoing support. The collaboration between hubs and nodes has been excellent, recognising that state borders or regional borders doesn't stop a farming practice. The ability to build capacity in the livestock space in farming systems groups is really beneficial. We know that 90% of cropping businesses in our region have an agronomist, someone they go to for advice, but where do livestock farmers go? We know that some have go-to advisors, and there's some great advisors around, but it's rare that they have someone regular. They might go to their stock agent, or maybe to an agronomist for their pastures, a little bit of information, or maybe John at the local rural store, or a neighbour. But often there's not someone that they trust to be able to go to for information. And through these networks, we believe this was the innovation. Building this capacity gives the farmers another avenue to source information or advice when seasonal conditions change and they need to ask questions. So the biggest innovation, I believe, is the follow-up support. So often nowadays we deliver projects, and really good ones at that. But then the project finishes and we move on to the next one. We report on the numbers and that's it. So we all know in agriculture, change isn't instant, especially in farming enterprises. There needs to be time for the information to be absorbed or have the follow-up conversations and the change to be implemented. This project helps with these steps. And while in the time, we're not going to have that immediate follow-up, we know the group of farmers that we've worked with and we can identify them down the track and go and check up on them and find out how they went. And building this capacity in the farming systems really benefits from that merging of the follow-up support and built-in capacity. So how did we go? Did we succeed? In the northeast, we have two types of livestock farmers. The sole livestock farmer, who's been in the game forever and loves their sheep or their cattle. Then there's the cropping farmer, who has a few sheep, and by few, I mean normally bigger mobs than the traditional livestock farmer, who thinks about their stock every now and then, says he hates them, but really he's still got them, so he does quite like them on the side. So engaging both these types of farmers, it was challenging, and especially with the timing and running the workshops. It was quite a quick project delivery, so engaging these groups of farmers and tailoring it to both types of livestock farmers was challenging. In northeast Victoria, there's regions that get drier than normal, but normally they always have feed. So when it starts to get dry, they have the mindset of, it doesn't matter, it'll be right. They haven't experienced drought before, and therefore they're not prepared like some regions that have been through it before, have containment set up, know the triggers, know when to put their stock in containment. At the time of our training, there was feed available, it was green and in abundance. The conditions were looking really good. And we know that, as we said, we've run all these projects in floods. We're trying to have drought conversations in floods, and we know that when it's wet, the timing to have these conversations is ideal. But it's a challenge. It really is a challenge to get farmers to think about the future and plan for dry times when there's feed present. And I'm sure if we ran these workshops right now, we'd get double, if not triple the numbers and the interest that we had in February when there was an abundance of feed. When we did the training in South Australia, they were already really dry. South Australia and Tasmania were struggling for feed, and it was the forefront of their mind and all their farmers' minds. So when we were training, some feedback that I got was from a farmer was, if I'm going to do it, I need to be able to do it properly. And that's knowing all the feeding stuff and getting it set up how I want and how I need. And this was reflected of those who didn't have anything set up. They really wanted to set something up. They weren't sure how, or they had a little pen, but they really wanted somewhere to go and someone to ask and just hold their hand through that first step. So what are the next steps? I really think a coordinated approach. As stated earlier, stock containment, it's not a new concept, and everyone's at different stages across states, across regions, in their planning or their implementation. This year, we're seeing regions in early stages of drought that previously haven't faced dry conditions and therefore are not prepared, compared with those areas that have had previous experience and are well planned. It's important to use a coordinated approach across the hubs to deliver a format that works and is not reinventing resources, and to continue to build capacity of advisors and farmers, thus building the networks and the working groups. So to conclude, I really believe that Riv Plains believes that this project was successful, and our endeavour to represent not just a project, but a commitment to resilience and excellence in farming practices. By fostering the collaboration and providing targeted support and emphasising that follow-up, we really strive to empower the farmers on their farm and in their circumstance, and we hopefully will enhance the sustainability of agriculture.